So we will see some news, okay, related to Rafale, because Rafale deal is very important to India. We will not focus anything related to Rafale issues. We will only focus that how we got Rafale, what are the properties of Rafale fighter jets. So these are the things that we will focus on.
Top story this hour. After a 7,000-kilometer intercontinental flight, the first batch of Rafale fighter jets from France have landed in India. On your screens are the visuals of the landing of the Rafale jets at the Ambala Air Base. This is the first batch of these state-of-the-art fighter planes which India acquired from France. The 5 Rafales were escorted by 2 of India's Sukhoi Su-30 MKIs. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh took to Twitter to inform about the landing. He said that the touchdown of the Rafale combat jets marks the beginning of a new era in India's military history. Rajnath Singh said that Rafale will revolutionize the capabilities of the Indian Air Force. The jets were flown by pilots of the Indian Air Force who have been trained by Dassault Aviation in France. Indian Air Force Chief RKS Bhadoria was present at the airbase to receive the Rafale jets. He greeted the pilots who flew in the jets for the 7,000-kilometer long journey. The single-hop journey from France to India saw the 5 jets making an overnight stop at the Al Dhafra base near Abu Dhabi. Indian Air Force took to Twitter on Tuesday to showcase their new acquisition. Multiple pictures of the jets refueling mid-air were released by the IAF. The jets were refueled by 2 French Air Force tankers that accompanied the Rafales. WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Sudan Civil, is joining us live for more on this. Good evening to you, Sudan. The first 5 Rafale jets have landed in India. This is the biggest upgrade to the IAF in over 2 decades.
Well, yes, Alison, it's an important development when it comes to India's defense, India's Air Force and India's security architecture. 7,000 kilometers later, this is an important development. We have seen wall-to-wall coverage being given here in India. There are 2 aspects to it. One is, of course, the diplomatic aspect. Another is the military aspect. When it comes to diplomatic aspect, we know that this is a symbol of India-France cooperation. In fact, the French envoy spoke to WION yesterday and talked us about the aircraft, saying that it's this is an outstanding fighter jet, and also talked about how this is a symbol of cooperation. But by and large, we have seen how India and France have come together in past few days, months, and of course, yes, in fact, yesterday the French government sent India COVID aid in response to the Indians sending the COVID aid to France when it was being impacted. But talking about the military aspect, this comes amidst the growing aggression by the Chinese. In fact, the tweets made by India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh sends a message across to China that the countries who consider this development as a matter of concern are those countries who perhaps would threaten India's territorial and sovereignty. But by and large, if you look at the situation in the region, it is a precarious situation, and how India is hoping that through these development, through upgradation, through modernization, and through acquisition, is just not with France, with US, with Israel, with Russia. India has been acquiring and, of course, giving orders to make sure that the Indian forces and the Indian defense forces, whether it's Air Force, whether it's Navy, remain up to date. In fact, one of the most important developments of the day is the fact when Rafale entered the Indian Ocean, it had a conversation with the India's ship, Indian naval ship, and of course we know that this is a message of how the Navy and the Air Force are on the same page.
Sudan, thank you very much for that update, for all the latest there on Rafale.
this is your Rafale. This is about your Rafale and India and US deal. We will do basically India and US deal. How India and US are basically cooperating with each other such that we can occupy as much as possible.
A big push during the visit of President Trump. Sources say India and US are likely to conclude a deal worth $2.6 billion for 24 MH-60 Romeo helicopters for the Indian Navy. And that's not all. At least 8 to 10 other defense deals are in advanced stages of negotiations, and this includes acquisition of 6 Apache attack helicopters worth $796 million, a $1.8 billion deal for an air defense system for New Delhi. India could acquire 6 more P-8I long-range maritime patrol aircraft at a cost of $1.8 billion. Acquisition of 30 Sea Guardian armed drones worth $2.5 billion and 30 Mk-45 naval gun systems worth $1 billion is also being discussed.
The United States has now talked and proposed to India the sale of armed drones. Now, the United States has never gone out of NATO, to my knowledge, to sell armed drones, but we will do that with India because they're such a trusted defense partner.
While 8 to 10 defense deals are in the pipeline, not all of them would be concluded during the visit of Donald Trump. But the US government would like to use this occasion to make a strong case for future defense sales to India. The US government would also make a strong pitch for F-21 fighters to meet India's requirement for 114 fighter jets, a deal which is worth anything between $15 billion to $18 billion. But the Indo-US defense partnership is not restricted only to big-ticket defense purchases. Here's how the relationship has evolved over the last decade. In 2012, India and US launched the Defense Technology and Trade Initiative. In August 2016, the Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement was signed. In December 2016, US recognized India as a major defense partner. In August 2018, US granted India a Strategic Trade Authorization License exception. In September 2018, India and US concluded the Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement. And in December 2019, India and US signed the Industrial Security Annex to enable transfer of classified technology between US and Indian companies.
Asia is growing, as you know. In the next 10 years, the Asian trade, the Asian population, the Asian military spending will go up more than the combined rate of the United States and Europe. So we want to make sure that India is secure in that environment in the next 10 years.
Today, US is India's largest training partner. US and India conduct more military exercises with each other than they do with any third country. Exercises like Malabar, Cope India, Yudhabhyas have improved coordination between the Army, Air Force, and navies of the two countries. In November 2019, both India and US held their first tri-service exercise called the Tiger Triumph. In New Delhi, Parikshit Putra.
Let's take a look at some more information on the limited trade deal coming in from CNBC.
So this is your defense deal. Okay, now we will go on the notes. So these are the notes of today's. First is current affairs of the day. First one is favor to international relations, working with India to make clean power accessible. Clean power accessible. So United Kingdom basically want to work with India because the Indian diaspora. Diaspora basically means the peoples of India living in United Kingdom are having a big influence in United Kingdom. Are having a big influence in United Kingdom, and as you all know that the United Kingdom has taken a Brexit, Britain exit. So that's why what United Kingdom wants, that it want to develop as much as relations with India, because USA is also having the good relations with India, and UK, US, and then India. So UK is related to US. US, whatever US do, the UK will do the same work. The UK will do the same work, and that's why UK is also focusing on India. On India, it is focusing. As you can see, the Samsung mobile phones are also now in India. So many of the other companies and many of United Kingdom's companies are there in India. This is paper 3 economy notification on 74% FDI in defense soon. So we are the growing nation. We are the growing nation. That's why we need security. For the sake of security, we need foreign investment. So we need foreign investment. So we cannot make ourselves. We cannot make ourselves. So that's why we are going beyond 50% limit, because in previous time we were having only 50% FDI in defense deals, and before that we were not having any FDI in defense deals. Although we were having FDI in many fields, but in defense deals we were not having any FDI policy up to approx 2008. We were not having any FDI in defense deals. After that, we begin to include FDI, foreign direct investment. Why we not include foreign direct? Why we avoid foreign direct investment? Because if we include the foreign direct investment in defense deal, then they will come to know all the strategies of Indian armies. They will come to know all the strategies of Indian armies. That's why some of the malified intentions of the West, some of the malified intention of the West, that's why we are still avoiding 26% FDI in defense deals. Okay, that's the reason that we are still avoiding 26% FDI in defense deals, although we are trying to increase it up to 24%. Not we have not done it yet. We are at only 50%. Okay, we are thinking over it, and the documents have come that we should do 74% FDI in defense deals, because we are increasing at a very rapid rate. We are increasing the influence all over the world. Okay, what is defense procurement procedure? Defense procurement procedure, I have shown you the videos. In that way, we occupy the different defense equipments from other nations according to our interest. According to our interest, we do different deals with other nations to maintain diplomatic relations with Russia, Israel, and USA. Although USA is very powerful and USA can supply anything, USA can supply anything, but still we not only focus on USA, we do the defense deals through Israel and Russia also. So that's the reason that we try to maintain diplomatic relations with all the powers in the world. So we are not aligned towards anyone. We are not aligned towards anyone. What is the defense procurement procedure? Government notifies 100% FDI in Air India. Air India is the flights of India. So government is now doing privatization. Now doing privatization of Air India, and that's the reason that they had allowed 100% FDI for NRIs, non-residentials of India. Non-residentials of India. Okay, environment and biodiversity. At 2,967 tigers, India capacity at peaks. That news we have done yesterday also. Okay, so these are the notes that I will provide you, because we have done in a short version, but it is a very important topic. That's why I have created the notes. Okay. notification on 74% FDI in defense deals. The government is going to come out with a decision on 74% foreign direct investment FDI in defense and notifications is likely in the next few days. Notification is likely to be in the next few days. Separately, the defense ministry has said the second draft of the defense procurement procedure DPP 2020, now renamed as defense acquisition procedure DAP 2020, was put out in public domain on Tuesday for comments from stakeholders and public. In May, the government announced a series of measures to promote domestic defense manufacturing. These include a negative import list, separate budgetary allocations for domestic procurements, indigenization of spares and components, and raising the FDI cap through automatic route from 49% to 74%. From 49% to 74%, that's we have done it. Okay. The increase in exports by private sector comes as a several major defense companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Thales, and Dassault Aviations are increasingly sourcing components from India for their global supply chains. For instance, called C-130 transport aircraft manufactured by Lockheed Martin. So have components sourced from their joint ventures with Tata Groups in Hyderabad. Okay. Value added information. Defense Procurement Procedure 2020. Raksha Mantri unveiled the draft Defense Procurement Procedure DPP 2020 that aims at further increasing indigenous manufacturing and reducing timelines for procurement of defense equipments Okay, what is defense procurement procedure? What is it basically is the draft of DPP 2020 has been prepared by a review committee headed by a Director General Acquisition because on the recommendation of stakeholders including private industries. So including private industries also, we have done defense procurement procedure. Now we are focusing that we should increase FDI as much as possible. So this is the defense procurement procedure. The first DPP was promulgated in 2002 and has since been revised a number of times to provide impetus to growing domestic industry and achieve enhanced self-reliance in defense manufacturing. Self-reliance in defense manufacturing. But according to this FDI policy, that we have done now 74% FDI in defense. The manufacturing will be done in India. The manufacturing will be done in India. The money will be provided to India, and whatever the profit will be earned by any foreign company, they will have to invest that money in India also. Okay, so in that way, we are creating the employment. We are creating the opportunity to different engineers, and still we are and their profit will remain in India, and their profit will boost Indian sectors from in different sectors like uh, it will promote Tata Groups. Okay, because Tata Group is having major deals with this defense procurement procedures. So Tata company will launch its car and different projects in India. So in this way, the money will remain in India. The money will remain in India, and our foreign exchange reserve will increase. Our foreign exchange reserve will increase. The government is constantly striving to formulate policies to empower the private industries, including MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises. They are also focusing on MSMEs in order to develop the ecosystem for indigenous defense productions. So, what we want that MSMEs, that is small scale industries, we also want some of the industries to produce screw, some different kinds of screw, the small one, the big one, and the larger one. So these are the work of small scale industry, not the work of large scale industries. That's why we are basically focusing on Atmanirbhar Bharat, the project launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In this way, we will try to influence foreign countries that we will provide you each and everything, even from a screw to big body parts of any fighter jets, of any tanks, of anything. Okay, but in the case of Rafale, what we have done that uh, we have occupied ready to fly, airplanes we have occupied. But whatever the profit the France will receive, whatever the profit the France will receive, they will have to invest all the money in India. The major changes proposed in the new DPP: indigenous content ratio hike. The draft proposes increasing the indigenous content IC stipulated in various categories of procurement of by about 10% to support Make in India initiatives. A simple and realistic methodology has been incorporated for verification of indigenous content for the first time. New category: buy global, manufacture in India. Buy global, manufacture in India. It has been introduced with minimum 50% indigenous content on cost basis of total contract value. Only the minimum necessary will be bought from abroad. Only the minimum necessary will be bought from abroad, while the balance quantities will be manufactured in India. This would be in preference to buy global category, as manufacturing will happen in India and jobs will be created in the country. Leasing introduced as new category. Leasing has been introduced as new category for acquisition in addition to existing buy and make categories to substitute huge initial capital outlays with periodical rental payments. Leasing is permitted under two categories: lease Indian, where lessor is an Indian entity and is the owner of the assets, and lease global, where lessor is a global entity. This will be useful for military equipments not used in actual warfare, like transport fleets, trainers, simulators, etc. Trainers, simulators, etc. So, product support. The scope and options of product support have been widened to include contemporary concepts in vogue, namely performance-based logistic (PBL), life cycle support contract (LCSC), comprehensive maintenance contract (CMC), etc., to optimize life cycle support for equipments. The capital acquisition contract would normally include support for 5 years beyond the warranty period. Working with India to make clean power accessible. United Kingdom ministers. The United Kingdom, which holds a presidency of the next United Nations Climate Change Conference (COP26). Okay, COP26 will be hosted by presidency under United Nations, United Kingdom. United Kingdom planned for next year is committed to building resilience to climate change among communities and working with India on clean energy. Lord Ahmed, United Kingdom Minister of State, Minister of South Asia and Commonwealth, said. Lord Ahmed, who was on a virtual visit to India, said green finance was high on the agenda. Green finance basically means that we will finance on green projects. That is to protect the nature. We will finance on them. The Green Growth Equity Fund (GGEF) with the United Kingdom and the Indian government co-investment, 240 million euro, is starting to mobilize private investment. BP, The oil and gas major recently committed over 55 million euro and 70 million dollar towards this. He said, India matters to us. India matters to us. So UK is saying that Green Growth Equity Fund with United Kingdom and the Indian government co-investment of 240 million. So they will invest that much of amount in India for Green Growth Equity Fund. India matters to us from the strength of Indian diaspora. Diaspora basically means the people living in United Kingdom. I know the people diaspora basically means not only United Kingdom, the people living in Saudi Arab and Qatar and many other places. The Indian peoples are there all over the world. Okay, are there all over the world, and they are having a major influence all over the world. So that's why diaspora is very important to influence any nation, because they are behaving just like citizens of the United States or Saudi Arabia or Qatar, but their heart is still Indian. Okay, but their heart is still Indian. That's why they will focus that their nation in which they are living, that is USA or either Qatar, they should have good relations with India. They should have good relations with India. So that's the reason that India is having Indian diaspora in UK. In UK, I know also that Britain-Indian relationship matters to us. I believe it is important to strengthen the partnership on a whole raft of issues. Lord Ahmed said last week, I was engaging directly with new Indian ambassadors to United Nations. We look forward to working in the multilateral sphere and within the Commonwealth sphere. Crucial linkages. Lord Ahmed said as a progress was made with COVID-19 Oxford vaccine in the United Kingdom. Vaccine is being made in United Kingdom and the production will be done in Pune. So you can see that we are winning because of COVID-19. We are actually not losing because of COVID-19. We are winning all over the world because of COVID-19. The relationship through the private contract agreed with AstraZeneca and Serum Institute of India. AstraZeneca, it is the name of that institute. AstraZeneca and Institute of India on production of the vaccine was notable. At a time of crisis, India and the United Kingdom could work collaboratively. Due to the pandemic, we had to delay COP26. India has a lot of expertise on solar energy and we on wind energy. So United Kingdom, you can see windmills in United Kingdom very much. So wind energy is very good in United Kingdom. The relationship with India is a pivotal one. He observed COP26 should be profiling good practice, Lord Ahmed said. So earlier this month, we announced a new green recovery package, including a 3 billion euro investment to create green jobs and upgrade buildings. So in this way, United Kingdom is working with us, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI. Okay. So asked about the British partnership in flood protection and aquifer recharge Mahatma Gandhi Manrega. So they will also try to participate in Manrega also. Lord Ahmed said we are working together to through the Manrega to build climate resilient livelihood, and the infrastructure for climate resilient growth. ICRG has invested in climate resilient livelihood strategies in Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and Bihar. Climate resilient growth structure जो भी बनेगा वो ओडिशा, छत्तीसगढ़ एंड बिहार में बनेगा. leading solar alliance, International Solar Alliance, and the United Kingdom was working with it other countries to mobilize more than 1 trillion of investment in solar energy by 2030. Separately, the United Kingdom was supporting 40 million euro programs for technology advancement and make market development of electric cooking. Okay, solar. So as you all can see, in all your families, you must have observed that you have occupied induction cooker. So induction cooker, electric cooking, we are focusing on using solar and other energy sources. ठीक है? We are also focusing on it. So in the upcoming time period, the solar panels are still very costly. That's why Indian peoples are still avoiding it. But if we make certain rules that if you make any house, just like Bangalore, if you want to pass your house map, then you will have to have then you will have to occupy the solar panel means your home should work with solar panel only. That's the policy in Bangalore. In whatever the house you live, you will have to occupy solar panels. So in this way we need to assess this. Lord Ahmed's visit was preceded by an announcement of a joint collaborative program antimicrobial resistance AMR in India. AMR in India. So government notifies 100% FDI in Air India, NRIs. So ये simple सी news है. NRIs की इन्वेस्टमेंट इसे आप हेडिंग के थ्रू ही समझ सकते हैं. गवर्नमेंट ने नोटिफाई किया है कि FDI एयर इंडिया द फ्लाइट्स ऑफ इंडिया, इंडियन गवर्नमेंट जिसे अब प्राइवेटाइज करने की बात हो रही है, तो उसमें 100% FDI NRIs के थ्रू भी आ सकता है. इंडिया श्रीलंका रिलेशंस दैट वी नीड टू डू. इंडिया श्रीलंका के बारे में हमने काफी दिनों से पढ़ रहे थे कि श्रीलंका में इलेक्शंस आ रहे हैं. There is election in Sri Lanka. That's why it is developing good relations with India. In this part of northern Sri Lanka, the Tamils live, so that's why they are focusing on the vote banks and they are trying to develop good relations with India. India-Sri Lanka relations, India-Sri Lanka relationship. What are the noticeable aspects of the relationship? Religious and cultural relations. Religious and cultural, cultural and social affinities of two nations have been noticeable aspects of the relationship. The advent of Buddhism in Sri Lanka during the time of Emperor Ashoka. So Emperor Ashoka have spread Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So we are having Indian influence in terms of history also. So historically, we are having good relations with Sri Lanka. Has been a major aspect of the cultural link between India and Sri Lanka. There has been continuous movement of Buddhist monks between India and Sri Lanka. The many Buddhist sites in India and Hindu places of worships in Sri Lanka have attracted pupils from both the countries. Okay. Economic relations. As you all know, in Bodh Gaya, many of the Sri Lankans come and visit there in Bihar. Okay, economic relations. The ancient capital city of Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka had housed an international community which included traders from India. Colonialism by European powers reshaped the Sri Lankan economy. Labor from South India was brought to Sri Lanka to work in plantations. So different plantations, just like rubber plantations, indigo plantation. The farmers doesn't earn anything, but the land, but on which on whatever the land they do the farming, that land gets destroyed completely for 5 to 6 years. Get destroyed completely for 5 to 6 years if they do production of indigo and rubber over that land. Okay. Currently, India is a major trading partner of Sri Lanka and is one of the major export destination for Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan products. Sri Lanka continues to remain a major tourist attractions among Indian tourists. Sri Lanka also received a substantial amount of foreign investments from India. Foreign investments from India. So, being closest to country to each other, distance or connectivity has never been an issue for the bilateral relationship. There is a immense issue related to the fishery sector, because if Indian fishermen overreach towards Sri Lanka, then Sri Lanka just captures them. So there is a issue of a fisherman in between India and Sri Lanka. Otherwise, at present, we are not having any such big issue with Sri Lanka. Uh, just a big issue is that Hambantota port of Sri Lanka is being occupied by China, that we need to focus on. Okay, what is the significance of the relationship? Sri Lanka's strategic location makes it an important player in the Indian Ocean region. IOR. This would have an impact on not only the economic dimensions but also the security of aspect of both countries. Security aspect of both the countries. The socio-economic development of Sri Lanka has remained linked to India, given the proximity of India to Sri Lanka. India to Sri Lanka. India being the closest nation can and has always been the first responder to any urgent needs of Sri Lanka. So any urgent needs of Sri Lanka, India can now let's read. Unlike Chinese model of capital led investment, China invests how such that any nation in which it invests, it becomes it comes under its debt trap, because China has a lot of currency, but if it provides on rent or investment or anything, okay, it creates a debt on that country because they are not able to pay the rent of it. So India's counter terror, we are having Tamil issue with Sri Lanka. India can help Sri Lanka with peaceful settlements of Tamil issues. So Buddhist and Tamils are having issues in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, which has been witness to terrorist attack recently, has gain from India's counter-terrorism capability and intelligence network in the region. So India's RAW agency will also work for Sri Lanka, and it will provide information to Sri Lanka. Okay, what are the major concerns? The asymmetry in the terms of geographic size, population, military, and economic power has had an adverse impact on the relationship, with political parties in Sri Lanka using this to accuse India's as big brotherly behavior. Big brotherly behavior. So India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal are having both the nations are having the same issues, that India behaves big brotherly behavior. That's all for the day. The Tamil issue in Sri Lanka has been challenging aspect of the bilateral relationship. Thank you.